lights down low. Time for blood to flow. Those some ghouls, you know what we mean. But all the terror that makes you scream. Some movies creep, some make you leap. There's killer plants or blobs. We cover them all on your favorite pod. So many horrors we can choose. Even when you win, you lose. Because the call is coming from inside the room. Life ends pretty fast. Some screams fade, but some chills will last. The killers spark and then they slash. It's the 30-something movie podcast. The clock rings out the midnight chimes. We all go a little mad sometimes. Whatever you do, don't fall asleep. And if you're in space, they can't hear you scream.
It's the 30-something movie podcast. It's October. It's scary, scary movies. I mean, we got a couple goofy movies this month too, but it's mostly scary. It's mostly vampires and mostly scary movies. But it's all good stuff. No matter what it is, it's all good stuff. When it's October, it's all good stuff.
Yes.
Well, I am your host, John Reed. I am here joined by a bunch of other scary, scary people, lovely people, but also scary, scary people. We're all maybe in a dream together, or something's happening to us. We'll have to figure it out, but we're all climbing the ladder tonight. This episode is Jacob's Ladder from 1990, one of our 10th anniversary rewatches. And I'm trying to remember, and don't worry, I'll introduce everybody in just a second, but I'm just trying to remember real fast. Did I pick this one, or did you pick this one, Pat?
I think you picked. I think you picked this one.
I did pick this one.
I stand by your decision because it is an excellent one. Go ahead.
I did pick this one, and I'm going to throw you under the bus for a moment. I did pick this one because I remember the ones you picked were originally things like Cool as Ice and Cool World and anything that was stupid with the word cool in the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like Cool as Ice, Cool World, and Cool Whip the movie or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was something. It was something to make you angry.
Yes.
And then I think you got angry, and then I said, okay, here are my three choices.
Cool Whip.
And my response to you was this.
That's extraordinary. What would you like to do next?
And then I left you on the Genesis planet where you deserve to be.
Yeah.
This
That's
is
right.
SETI Alpha 5.
Oh, hey, no.
Okay.
If you're gonna quote Star Trek, don't ever apologize. Lean into it, Bo. All right. Well, you have heard my voice. You've heard Pat's voice. Pat, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, John. How are you doing?
Although we're hearing part of Pat's voice because Pat's like gargling with nails tonight.
Yeah, the rest of Pat's voice is gone. But
how's that going to work for? I mean, thankfully you're a band teacher and not like a singer. But is that going to work okay for the band stuff you got going on tomorrow?
oh yeah,
Okay.
it'll go fine. I just make sure they get in their seats and then just keep them playing.
Okay.
And that's We're gonna be over at Bo's place tomorrow, so there's gonna be plenty of people to keep the
The
band in check.
invasion starts around 11, I'm told.
That's you are told correctly. But we're gonna be out. We're gonna be on the west end of the building. They've got us down. I think we even have the pizza in the hallway there, so it'll
Keep
be
them over there.
you
It's
tuck us
safer
up.
for everyone else.
Keep the middle.
tuck
Keep
us
the
out of the way.
keep the middle school kids on the far end of the building.
Yes.
Yeah. The other voice you can hear there is Bo Warmbold. Bo, how are you doing?
I'm well, John. How are you?
Doing good. Anytime we get to talk about movies, and especially scary movies, I'm always good.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I think at this point, do I just need to call you our October co-host? Rob Perry is here with us.
Greetings, gentlemen. I'm happy to be called the October co-host.
There you go.
That works for me.
I think it's official at this point after the last several years and having you on for a lot of our October episodes. I think that we'll make it official right now. Rob Perry is the official October co-host.
Love
Excellent.
There you go.
And the funny thing is that looking back, as I was talking to my wife, I said you guys had just covered Jacob's Ladder about a month before I joined you officially for my first episode, which was on the Addams Family.
Yes.
And you had recently covered it, and I was like, oh wow. and you had such a strong reaction that when you picked this as a rewatch, I immediately jumped and said, "Great, I get to jump in and talk about this," because it also was a movie that hit me pretty hard when I first saw it, which was shortly after it actually came out back in the day. So
Oh wow.
back in 1990.
I had
Cool.
actually, well,
So
I know we'll get into this as we go on. I was reading something earlier, and the comment section of what I was reading, somebody commented and said they saw this when they were in 8th grade, and they saw it in the theater, and they said they remember being in the theater, and when the movie was over, the credits ended, the lights came up, and nobody moved. They said everybody in the theater just sat there, and they almost kind of looked at each other like, "Do you know what happened? I don't know if I know what happened. Do you know? Does anybody want to like hazard a guess as to what it was that we just saw?" And he wasn't saying that in a bad way. It was just everybody was so shocked by it, and so like they had such a visceral reaction to it that they just could not get out of their seats. And they just everybody turned in the theater and just looked at each other and like, "Do you know what to do? I don't know what to do." So
this is a movie that'll do that to you.
yeah, yeah. Even on the second, and I know I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but even on the second, this is only my second watch. So the first time when we did it, the first time 5 years ago, and then this last week, even just within the last day or so, was the most recent time I watched it. And even watching it again this time, I feel like there are so many things I didn't remember from that first watch. It almost was like I was watching it again for the first time. And I was like, oh, wow, I remember that scene, but I don't remember some of this stuff. And there were things that I feel like I picked up this time around that I obviously did not pick up the first time. And yeah, it's one of those movies that I think it's probably going to have to become I don't know if it's an annual rewatch for me, but I think at the very least it's maybe like in every couple of years or so, go back to it, watch it again, give it some time to kind of reabsorb something new about it. And it's a really, without sounding too cheesy, it's a very thought-provoking movie.
It's dense.
Yes.
It's very dense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like what my siblings used to call me. It's very dense.
Very thought-provoking you are.
Right. Yes, I provoked a lot, and they thought a lot about what they wanted to do to me, and they thought I was dense. But I don't think that's the thought-provoking that we had in mind. But yes, we want to dive right on into this one. So I'll start off just our regular spoiler alert. We spoil freely, so if we're talking and we start to mention a movie that you don't want to hear anything about, make sure you do the little skip button maybe once or twice, and then that should be enough time for us to have moved past it. Make sure you visit our website, 30thewordpodcast.com, where you can leave us a rating, a voicemail. You can become a co-executive producer via Patreon, and we are always appreciative of everybody, Rob included, of all the folks that help us out over there on Patreon. As we say each and every time, we're doing this because we're not doing this to replace our day jobs. We're doing this because we love movies, and it's really fun for us to be able to get to interact with other people that love movies, and just that show of support is just awesome. It basically leaves us, and I'm not blowing smoke. It leaves us speechless pretty much every time when we think about folks supporting us to continue to share this with you all and bring other people in on the conversation. And it is a lot of fun, and we just appreciate it so much.
Well said.
Yeah, I want to repeat something because I had an opportunity. I don't think I was able to quite finish it, but I started to go back and try to listen to our episode from 5 years ago. So this was October of 2020. At a point back in time when one of our 3 questions was, how is everyone handling pandemic Halloween? That will not be one of our 3 questions this time around. But when I had a chance to listen to our episode from October of 2020, when we did this, and if anybody wants to go look for it, it should be episode 321. So if you go to our website and check it out, it's episode 321. The one thing I definitely want to repeat that we say at the beginning of that episode is, and we say this almost every single time, but this time we really mean it. We meant it back then. We mean it this time. Please, if you have not seen this movie, do not listen to us first. Stop, more so than any other time we may ever tell you this. Please stop this podcast. Go find a copy of this movie. I believe it may be streaming on Paramount Plus, maybe a couple of other services right now, but please go watch this movie. Do not let us ruin it for you. Do not let us spoil it for you. You must see this movie first before you listen to us talk about it. I cannot give a strong enough recommendation to tell you to do that.
we're
Hot
pleading.
car over.
We're pleading
Right.
with
The
you.
movie. Come back. We'll be here.
We'll be here. Like we're not going anywhere. It's going to be okay. They have pause buttons for a reason.
Yes.
It's all right. But yes, this is one of those movies that I wouldn't want anybody's first exposure to the plot of this movie to be us sitting here talking about it. Like, you have to watch it, you have to experience it, and then please come back. But it is, because it is, if you have not seen it before, it is well worth a watch. I think it shocked the heck out of us, maybe all of us here, the first time we saw it, and very surprised, I think, at how much we seem to enjoy it. And the second time around too, for me especially. So yeah, I want to throw that out there. Just please, if you have not seen this, please stop, go find a copy of this movie, and then come back to this episode later once you've had a chance to see it. All right, to jump on in to the trivia section here. This is Jacob's Ladder. Came out on the 2nd of November, 1990. Rated R. Runtime of 1 hour and 53 minutes. Directed by Adrian Lyne, who did Flashdance, Fatal Attraction, and Indecent Proposal. It's a very different movie than Flashdance, so don't go in expecting you're going to see like Flashdance 2, Electric Boogaloo. Producer on this one, yeah, very much not so. I mean, there's a dancing scene.
There is, in a way, yeah.
And she's a maniac. Yeah.
From hell.
Well, yeah,
Exactly.
I every once in a while, as I'm watching a movie, and I know with a movie like this, it's kind of hard to insert any kind of humor at all. But the last time we did the episode on this, I think I kept playing.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. I think I kept playing a little bit of Jacob's Ladder by Huey Lewis, and it was the step by step, rung by rung. And this time around, we get to that scene, and I'm like, is there anything funny I can pull out of this movie? I don't think so. But knowing me, as I'm sitting there on the drive home thinking, is there any part of this I can make funny? I did I replaced the music in that dance party scene with a version of CNC Music Factory's Every Demon Dance Now.
Oh,
so
geez.
if I had the time and the wherewithal to make a parody version of that, I would have, but yeah. But we're not going to. We're gonna let that go, and we're gonna continue on. Producer was Alan Marshall, Starship Troopers, Showgirls, Midnight Express. Writer for this one, Bruce Joel Rubin, who did Ghost, Deep Impact, and The Time Traveler's Wife. Cinematography by Jeffrey Kimball, who did Top Gun, Mission Impossible 2, and Star Trek Nemesis. Top Gun, Mission Impossible 2, and Star Trek Nemesis. Isn't that like the law of diminishing returns when you list off
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
that series of movies? Well, peaked too early, I guess, Jeffrey Kimball did. Music by Maurice Jarre, who passed in 2009, did Lawrence of Arabia, Dr. Zhivago, and Ghost. Budget for this one was $25 million, box office $26.1 million. Rotten Tomatoes gives this one a 72%, was the critic score, and the audience score was an 84%. CinemaScore, I don't believe, had a score for this one, or at least I wasn't able to pull it up on there. Starring Tim Robbins, who plays Jacob Singer. He was in Bull Durham, The Shawshank Redemption, and Mystic River. Elizabeth Pena, who passed in 2014, plays Jezzy, or Jezebel. She was in Rush Hour, La Bamba, and The Incredibles. Danny Aiello, who passed in 2019, played Lewis. He was in Do the Right Thing, Moonstruck, and Hudson Hawk. Matt Craven played Michael. He was in A Few Good Men, Crimson Tide, and X-Men First Class. Pruitt Taylor Vince was Paul. He was in JFK, The Cell, and the TV series Deadwood. Jason Alexander was Geary. He was in Pretty Woman, Seinfeld, and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Patricia Kalember was Sarah. She was in Signs, Limitless, and the TV show 30-something. Eric LaSalle played Frank. He was in ER, Logan, and Coming to America. Ving Rhames was George. He was in Pulp Fiction, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and the Mission Impossible movies. And then Lewis Black shows up as Jacob's doctor at one point. He was in Inside Out and used to be on The Daily Show back in the day. All right. Quick voiceover for this one in our usual style. Although lately I've been doing it in the opposite of our usual style, so I'll continue to do that for this one. And then we'll play the trailer audio, and then we'll be back in just a moment with the major moments after that. Haunted by the ghosts of Vietnam, Jacob Singer returns home to a world that's slipping out of focus. Visions twist reality into nightmare, and the people he loves can't save him. As his mind unravels, Jacob must face a terrifying question. What if the war never ended?
Every Every day, Jacob Singer goes to work.
What's wrong?
It's one of those days.
And every day, he wonders what is happening to him.
Maybe it's the pressure, Jake.
They're like demons, Jess. They weren't human.
What were they, Jake? Let me look at your hand. You have a very strange line. See, according to this, you're already dead.
Something's wrong, Jake. They're coming after me. I don't know who they are or what they are, but they're gonna get me, and I'm scared, Jake. I've seen them too.
Maybe the demons are real.
He's running 106 feet with...
This is barbaric.
I can get rid of the demons.
Who are you?
I can block the ladder.
Where are you taking me? Where am I?
Where do you want to go?
Home.
This is your home. You're dead.
I'm not dead.
What are you then?
I'm alive.
All right. So this one, I mean, there were a couple of trivia things, and we'll kind of share some trivia kind of as we go along with this one. But one of the ones I wanted to point out in particular was the director. I had tried to catch a couple of different interviews if I could find them on YouTube and a few other places. One of the things that he had mentioned was he had used as inspiration some paintings by William Blake and Francis Bacon, and one of my this creeps people out every time I say it. One of my favorite artists is H.R. Giger, and that he used those as kind of inspiration for these. And that coupled with, so I think two of the coolest things for me when I look at the trivia for this one is that, and that all of the special effects in this were not done in post-production. Like, this is all done with the live filming. He talked in one interview that, you know, when you film somebody, he said we filmed somebody and the way they were moving, it didn't look creepy at 8 frames per second, but, you know, put it in 4 frames per second and then play it back at the normal frame rate of 24 frames per second. It looks friggin' awesome. I mean, that's a paraphrase of what he said, but
Yeah, the story about the shrunken head scene where they just had the guy move his head back and forth, but they shot it really slow and then sped, like, that was so cool.
yeah, but all no post-production. So all completely done live. And knowing that, like that.
Where's Dennis when you need him?
Right. But knowing that, I mean, that just brings another dimension of just a layer to this movie that makes me enjoy it even more. Knowing like the technical aspects of it, the technical work that they did to do this without any kind of post-production, it's awesome. Oh, like I said, we'll throw in a little bit more trivia here and there as we go along, as we talk through this one. Before I get into recapping the major moments of this one, which we try to do a quick recap of 10 major moments in the movie, just to kind of give you an idea. But again, we really, really want you to go watch this movie first before you hear us talk about it. Any other trivia that anybody want to throw out real quick before I run through the 10 major moments? Not at this point? All right. We'll save our trivia for just a little bit later. All right, so we'll start off the major moments in this one. We start with the ambush in Vietnam. So it's October 6, 1971. Deep in the jungle, Jacob Singer and his unit of the 1st Air Cavalry are resting in a quiet village when hell suddenly opens up around them. Mortars explode, gunfire erupts, and amid all that chaos, soldiers start to convulse and start to break down. Some are screaming, some are more in like a catatonic state. Their minds are just unraveling before his eyes, and as he flees into the jungle, he's bayoneted by an unseen attacker, and his world fades to black. At that point, he then jolts awake in a dim New York City subway car. It's now 1975, years after the war, or so we might be led to believe. When he glimpses a writhing tentacle from beneath a sleeping vagrant's blanket, confusion starts to turn into terror. He tries to escape, but the exit gate is locked. A train roars toward him, lights blinding, and he barely escapes with his life. He also sees, as the subway train goes by, he sees these creepy faces in the window of these demonic-looking people. Now working as a postal clerk in Brooklyn, Jacob lives with his girlfriend Jezebel, or Jezzy, in a rundown apartment. He tries to rebuild a normal life, but is haunted by continual visions. His dead son, Gabe, which comes up quite a bit in the movie, his estranged wife, Sarah, faceless figures that twitch and blur in really creepy ways. And so clearly the Vietnam War might be over, but Jacob's battle with whatever is going on in his mind clearly is not quite finished yet. At a friend's party, a psychic reads Jacob's palm and coolly tells him, well, he's already dead. He laughs it off until the music starts to distort and Jezebel begins dancing wildly. The crowd twists and morphs around him, and Jezebel's dance turns demonic, and her partner transforms into a monstrous thing. Jacob ends up collapsing in horror as his reality is really starting to come apart around him. Racked by sudden violent fever, Jacob writhes in agony as Jezebel plunges him into an ice bath to try to save him. The shock sends him spiraling into another life, one where he's back with Sarah and his sons, where Gabe is still alive. It feels really real to him, and it feels like this is where he's supposed to be, and maybe everything else was the nightmare, but then just as quickly, it's gone, and he's kind of jumping back and forth between these different worlds. When he reconnects with his old platoon mate, Paul, he learns that others from their unit are suffering the same kind of visions, but before they're able to meet again, Paul's car explodes right in front of Jacob. At the funeral, more survivors start to tell that they're kind of seeing similar things, and they suspect that the military might have done something to them, some kind of chemical secret project type thing. Jacob's search for truth kind of brings him to the VA hospital, but the staff claim he's not in their records, his doctor doesn't even exist. After that, he's abducted by men in suits, strapped to a gurney, wheeled through a decaying hospital filled with mutilated bodies and twisting creatures. Doctor even tells him just very calmly, like, you're dead, Jacob. This is your home now. Just as Jacob's mind is about to break completely, his chiropractor and friend Lewis appears like an angel in the darkness. He rescues Jacob and restores him body and soul. Lewis quotes Meister Eckhart, "The only thing that burns in hell is the part of you that won't let go of life." That's a kind of a moment of clarity for Jacob, and it gives the audience maybe like a half second to take a breath before the movie continues. Jacob's then approached by Michael Newman, a guilt-ridden chemist who had worked for the Army. He confesses that the ladder was a combat drug designed to turn soldiers into perfect killers. Jacob's unit was dosed without their knowledge, and the attack in Vietnam wasn't by the enemy. The men turned on each other, and the vision of Jacob's bayoneting comes back into focus. The man who stabbed him wasn't a Viet Cong soldier, but one of his own. In the end, Jacob returns home one last time. There, in kind of the soft glow of morning, he finds Gabe waiting at the foot of the stairs. His son smiles at him, takes his hand, and gently leads him upward into the light. And in a flash, we're back in 1971. Medics in a triage tent pronounce Jacob Singer dead from his wounds, and he is very calm now, and he is finally at peace. Those are the 10 major moments for a complete mind bend of a movie. All right. We're going to dive into some of our deeper thoughts on this. And believe me, we have deep thoughts on this one.
And now, deep thoughts.
All right. So this is knowing for a fact, I'm not even going to ask about first time you saw this because I know for a fact we've done this one before. So we've all seen this one before. But let's start with our guest. We'll start with Rob. Rob, you saw this one. You said that you saw this one pretty much right around the time it came out. So can you recall back enough about your first viewing of this and what it did to you?
Yes, I saw this. It was a home video rental. I did not see it in a theater.
Okay.
I was just a little bit too young, but I have a cool mom. I'll just say that. And I said, and literally, it was a classmate of mine in school. I was in the 8th grade, who his dad had taken him to see it. And he was just going on and on and on about how it was one of the most mind-blowing things he had ever seen. And he was still, like, a week later trying to figure out what it all meant. And we wound up going to the video store, as one did back then. And we rented it. My mom didn't see a real problem with it. And we watched it. I remember watching it and just having this feeling of just not understand. I didn't know much about the Vietnam War. I didn't know much about experimentation on soldiers. I didn't know anything about Jacob's Ladder other than the very brief biblical reference. with it being Jacob trying to escape his brother Esau and seeing a dream of a vision of a ladder leading up and between hell and heaven, and then realizing that at the end you get the stinger at the end that he's been dead the whole time, and I'm like, but that doesn't quite work, and my brain just like fighting against itself. So I had a very visceral reaction, and every time I watched it, even when I watched it this evening, I was still trying to look at it as, what if he isn't really dead? What if all of that is transpiring is really what his life has become because of the experiment? What if it really is, or maybe it really is him laying on the gurney trying to fight for his life and seeing he could have a life and then realizing he's not going to have much of a life. I mean, there were so many reactions. Every time I watch this, I look at it from a very different view. And that's something that is so rewarding going back and watching a movie like this, is that you can grab on to so many different things because, as we said in the beginning, this movie is dense. It is incredibly dense for a movie that on the surface is simply, guy gets killed in Vietnam and the whole movie is a dream at the end. But I don't think it's that simple. So I mean, I've had a visceral reaction ever since the time I saw it when I was in 8th grade, all the way to the time now where I'm a 48-year-old adult.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's, to your point about it being so dense, is when you start to get them layering in possible explanations for what's going on, when they bring in the chemical weapon experimentation part, you're starting to get this possible scientific explanation for what's happening to him, but they do such a nice job of still keeping it ambiguous enough that you're not sure. Like, is this a real conspiracy? Is this Jacob's mind like creating some kind of scaffolding for him to like build a reason around something? Is this, that we can make sense of the hallucinations by, trying to give it some kind of structure? Yeah, that's one of the things. I mean, of the different layers of the onion of this movie, that's one of the things that I really enjoy, is that it leaves you at the end with not a clear-cut answer. Even if you wanted to say, oh yeah, it's he was dying the whole time, and this is all the movie is all about his spiritual experience. Like, well, but is it all completely about his spiritual experience? Like, there's not enough there to really, you can never 100% say, yes, that is what this movie is about. And I even appreciated the times where I was able to find a couple of interviews with Line, and he was very careful to say, I'm not going to say too much about that because I don't want to ruin it for the people that'll see this movie. And so he was I found an interview with him not too long, I think, after the movie had come out, and he was very careful not to give anything away. And I think to his credit and to the movie's credit, it does a really good job of kind of gently weaving that web of not giving you a bunch of questions and giving you some answers, but you don't know if you can trust the answers.
Yeah, because from the very beginning of the movie, every time I watch it, they're almost pounding you on the head, telling you he's dead, he's dead, he's dead,
Yeah.
he died. But then you watch the rest of the movie and you're like, is he really dead? I don't know.
Yeah.
And they do such a good job of developing, his previous marriage, his kids, his new relationship with Jesse, his job, his mundane, just feeling like nothing is quite and he has just the main focus of the movie. He has back problems.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a lot that can be read from that because of his whole relationship with Danny Aiello, his chiropractor, and you can really make assumptions about why does he have the back pain. Oh, well, that's probably because of the bayonet injury.
Mm-hmm.
That he has this ongoing injury that he suffered in Vietnam, and and he makes the comments that, oh, you look like an angel when he's looking up at Danny Aiello. He's looking down at him, And Danny Aiello is the one who rescues him from the hospital. I mean, you were talking earlier about if there is anything you could extrapolate from this movie that's slightly comedic, it's that scene where he comes and gets Jacob out of the hospital, takes him back to his apartment, and tries to rejuvenate him and sends him on the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie. That's about it. But there is so much going on in this movie where you are, and no matter how many times you've seen it, is he dead the whole time? Was this actually him having a flashback where he is remembering him almost dying in Vietnam? I mean, you're almost expecting at the end of the movie that you're going to see him like take a breath right before it cuts to black and goes to credits. I mean, I don't want to ramble too much. That's my, and it always has been my visceral reaction to this movie. It is so easily open to many, many, many different interpretations. I think anybody who watches this is going to have a very different reaction or trying to figure out, put all the pieces together.
Yeah. Now, Bo, I wanted to ask you next because I think the first time around when we watched this, Pat and I were kind of like minds blown. And I remember I was listening back to our episode and it didn't sound like your mind was blown, but you were like, because I think Pat said something along the lines of, I am, how did he put it in the original episode? It was, whatever, I am intrigued times a million, whatever that number is. And I think I think that's what you said, Pat, was I'm intrigued times a million. I don't know if that's like,
I like that line.
Yeah. I don't know if that's like the Tony Stark, I love you 3000, but it's close enough. But it sounded like, Bo, from the first time we did it, your response was kind of like, well, I'm not at the same level Pat is, but I was entertained and I was engaged. Did any of that change for you watching it a second time?
No, I was still entertained and engaged. I think that, as Pat said, wow, I sound pretty smart, don't I? I think, like you pointed out, I can't remember if it was on the recording or if it was before we started, but you pick up on little things. You start to analyze things a little more. There's, the title of the movie is Jacob's Ladder. You reference the Bible story of Jacob's Ladder. Then you start to realize things like her name is Jezebel. Okay, yeah, maybe I should have picked up on that the first time. I didn't, it just sort of came at you and you didn't really analyze what it was.
Almost everybody has a biblical name in this movie.
Right.
Almost everybody.
Right. And you pick up on that a little more as you watch it a second time, as you're a bit older and perhaps more introspective. And yeah, you just pick up on stuff differently and like, yeah, okay, I see that now. You notice the way they shot certain things. Like the way they shot the bayoneting scene. Like, oh, I see what you did there now. I did not see that the first time through.
Yeah.
For me, it's hard to watch movies like this a second time. Because I know too much. All the things I've talked about that I didn't notice, but I know too much. Like there's no twist or surprise anymore. There's no, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess surprise is the best I can come up with. There's no surprise anymore.
Is it a little bit like watching? So when I watched The Sixth Sense, the first time I remember seeing that was in movie theaters,
There you
and
go.
I remember like that the whole twist ending of that one. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. And then I would go back and rewatch it. In fact, I remember that being a pretty early on a DVD that I bought, and I remember like that was. Once I bought the DVDs and I probably had a little bit more free time back then, I'd go through and I'd listen to the commentary tracks and I'd do all that. So I'd start looking for here's where the red doorknobs are and here's where this is. And I would do that stuff. But I think when you've got a movie with a twist like that, or if you've got a movie where it just is such a mind bending thing, and then you get to the end and the semi reveal of this one, I think then once you go back and rewatch it, you're right. I think it's not about the twist ending anymore. It's not about the reveal anymore. It's more about going back and like, okay, well, how did they get there? Or did they leave little breadcrumbs along the way for me to pick up that I didn't pick up the time before? And I think for some movies I'm very similar. Like I'm not necessarily going to go back and rewatch if it's one that was a big twist ending. Like now, I won't necessarily go back and rewatch The Sixth Sense anymore because I've watched it a few times now, and I feel like I got most of the stuff I want to get from that movie, and it doesn't really hold. Like I'm not going to go watch Signs again because I already know what's going to happen. You know, it's baseball and cups of water. So
There's one I haven't thought about in a while.
yeah. But I mean, stuff like that. But yes, that's kind of, I can see kind of your point of it makes it a little tougher to go back when it's something that has such a big impact on the end of the movie or a twist ending or something like that. But yeah, then the picking up of the little breadcrumbs along the way to see like, oh, I missed that last time. I didn't get that last time. Oh, I'm seeing that. I remember that differently. There were times I think I was watching it this time where I was like, oh, I thought I remembered that differently, but I guess not. Patrick, you and I had a very strong reaction to this one when we watched it the first time. So I'm curious, what did watching it a second time do? Are you able to show us on the doll what the movie did to you the second time around?
Yeah, I can. Thank goodness for all our viewers that this is an audio medium. Yeah, Rob's reaction I just saw on the camera was sort of like what some of those guys in that train window looked like. Yeah, you know what? This movie is just awesome. I just sit here and watch this, and I'm like, I almost said I am so enthralled. I am so enthralled. Say that 10 times fast. Yellow leather. I am so enthralled with what I am seeing on the screen. And you know, it's funny because this time I'm like, okay, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. Wow, oh wow, that's right. And then it all got done and it was, holy buckets, it got me again. This thing is fantastic. I really love hearing the commentary that you guys have because I want to go back and sort of like what you mentioned with the Sixth Sense spoilers is I want to say, okay, where is there a crack in that? Is there a dots that they didn't connect or something? But it's so well crafted they didn't. And hearing what Rob just said, you know, I don't want to say I missed it again, but I don't even think I necessarily on the second viewing got exactly what happened in the movie because it almost sounds like if you think you have it all figured out, think again because that's not what this is all about, right? Like this, you're not going to get it all. Almost, and again, spoilers for Inception. But I almost feel like the ending of this movie is as they start panning back, you know, and you expect him to, you know, wake up. It's almost like in Inception when the top is spinning and it just kind of wobbles a little bit. And you're like, what?
Did it wobble?
And now this was the movie that there was some line in there about how demons are only demons unless unless they're I don't know, somehow there was some line where if you view them differently, then they're there to help you. Or, you know, hell, the fires of hell only burns the part of you that's holding on to the world. I'm totally misquoting it, but that theme was in this movie, correct?
Yeah, demons. They're only demons unless you accept that you need help to get to the other side, and then they're angels. You have accepted that you are dead, and then they're angels trying to help you to the other side.
Yeah, Lewis is talking about the Eckhart. He asked him if he's read Eckhart, and I found the exact quote here. It's Eckhart saw hell too. He said, "The only thing that burns in hell is the part of you that won't let go of life, your memories, your attachments. They burn them all away. But they're not punishing you," he said. "They're freeing your soul." So the way he sees it, if you're frightened of dying and if you're holding on, you'll see devils tearing your life away. But if you've made your peace, then the devils are really angels freeing you from the earth. It's just a matter of how you look at it. That's all. So don't worry. Okay.
So it's funny because I've this week I actually started watching the old Twilight Zone show, just kind of like at night trying to calm my mind down, just kind of distract myself with something fascinating. And I'd put on the old Twilight Zone shows.
You're watching the old Twilight Zone to calm your mind down. The old Twilight Zone. Wow.
Yes, I don't know. Is that has my stock gone up or am I more
Oh,
terrified
well,
now? I'm not
your
sure.
stock has gone way up, but I mean,
Okay.
the old Twilight
Um,
Zone has some really rad episodes where I did not sleep as a kid after.
well, it's so funny because there was one episode I just watched, like right before I watched this movie. I think I watched it like 2 nights ago, and then I rewatched the movie today, or or something like that. And there's a very similar theme, and I can't remember the name of it, but the premise. And Rob, if you call, if you know which one I'm talking about, like that's super impressive. But it's an old lady that's in her house, and she's trying to avoid Mr. Death, and so she doesn't let anyone in. And I believe it's Robert Redford plays a policeman. And I'm going to stop talking because I don't want to do spoilers for this. But there's a theme in that ends so much like what we see in this, or what we just were talking about, that I had to ask myself, sort of like what reality Jacob is dealing with. I'm like, wait a minute, was that in the Twilight Zone or was that in here? And it's a very similar theme. And a scene that really struck me in this is when his son shows up and starts walking him up the stairs. And so I'm kind of like, okay, well, that's it. That's it right there. But then it's like, and if you want to believe that reality, and if you want that to be, I don't know, the happy ending, so to speak, then okay, well, there's the angel guiding him in the guise of his son. But then it's like, but then you're again, the top, is it still spinning or not? Like, so is that his son from an imagined life because of getting hit with this, this weaponized hallucinogen? Or was that really his son that, I'm kind of grasping at straws again because of the brilliant way this thing was constructed. But anyways, that theme, and then that scene where the son, the angel, was helping him walk up the stairs, again, very similar to what I saw in that Twilight Zone episode. And it's just fascinating, just fascinating to watch this story.
And don't forget two things real quick, and I don't want anybody to think I have an encyclopedic knowledge of Twilight Zone, so I did Google it. It is Nothing in the Dark, was season 3, episode 16.
Yes.
Was the woman
Okay.
was afraid to have death get into her house. And don't forget, what was the son's name? You remember the son's name in this movie?
No.
Gabe.
Gabriel.
Gabe.
Yep.
Gabriel.
I mean, definitely not the same Gabriel we talked about like a couple of weeks ago. Not
And
Christopher Walken Gabriel. Yeah.
John, it just occurred to me too. I think I know why you like this movie.
Why's that?
I mean, well, if we follow the byline, then the main character is dead pretty much before the credits roll. And I know that that's kind of a common thing with you, is that you like the movies where, I don't know, even when you lose, I mean, you like those movies where all the main characters are gone. They're gone before the credits roll. So I'm seeing this common thread for you.
When you say the word supporting actors, the thing I like to support about supporting actors is supporting them in shuffling off the mortal coil.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah, the more actors I think I'd be a great producer. I'd save a lot of movies a lot of money, because I totally find killing off actors just even before the opening credits are done.
Yeah. So
yeah. If I was in charge of Star Wars, ton of people would be dead before the opening crawl's even over.
There it is.
You just have a couple little ellipses, like very tiny little paragraphs interjected between the other ones. Oh, by the way, Ray just died. Oh, by the way. Yeah. That's how I would handle it.
Just how you roll.
It's
just how you roll.
It's my favorite kind of movie.
Well, I don't want that moment of levity to take away from like the awesome discussion that we're having, but those were kind of my thoughts on this. And I mean, how awesome is the coincidence that I was just rewatching that Twilight Zone episode right before this, that I'm seeing that commonality, that similar theme or arc.
One thing I love,
amazing movie.
One thing I love about this movie is how visually, the work they do, and knowing that no post-production work was done to get these effects, but visually, how you're representing the unraveling of a mind. Like, a lot of the camera shots, the angles, the lighting, the strobe lighting, the frame rates being used for the head shaking, all that other stuff, all that imagery, the way it's used to make you, the viewer, totally unsettled by this movie. It's the jumping between time with no explanation to, well, wait a minute, he's with this person now, and who's he lying in the bed with? Well, that's not Jesse. That's, hold on, wait, where are we at now? You are just as disoriented as he is. And I think that's one of the other things this movie does so well. And you mentioned earlier, I think one of the things you said earlier, Pat, was you're like, I don't know if I can find a spot where there might be any holes in this. Like, did they have, are there any plot holes? Are there times where they didn't connect some of the dots? I don't think it matters, because so much of this movie is also meant to unsettle you as a viewer, that even if there was some hole somewhere or some dot they didn't connect, it's okay, because it works within the overall kind of purposefully messy fabric of the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that just it works too. Even if there was some mistake that got made somewhere, it's okay, because I think so much of this is meant to have you follow along with him in the experience of, am I dying? Am I going through hell? Am I going through purgatory? Is my mind just unraveling? Am I losing it? Is this part of some chemical experiment that was done on me? And then you, as the viewer, are also being you're being forced to visually experience some of what his mind is possibly going through. And I think that's what they do such a masterful job of in this movie.
Well, yeah, and they interweave it so well. So I feel like this movie influenced so much of the TV and movies that I've watched, like different elements of it. And I gotta relate it to, I don't know how many Star Trek episodes. Like, oh, I see that kind of thing happening here, or the idea of different realities, or, you know, Picard gets hit with a beam and suddenly he's experiencing this whole other culture's, a life in this other culture, and it's bouncing back. And so even if it's not like a direct redo of the story, where I'm seeing this influence it. And what I love about this is that as he's bouncing into his different realities, they relate. Like when he looks at his Ben wife in that reality and says, yeah, I had the weirdest dream and I was with another woman, which, you talk about the funny scene of the movie, I'm like, oh boy, that is the pillow talk that will get you in trouble.
Mhm.
I had a dream about a different woman, honey. And then on top of it, he says, yeah, it was that gal from the mailroom or whatever. And so it wasn't like she was unknown to him. Like he knew her, but like it was. So then you as the audience is then off balance and saying, okay, so maybe he is dreaming. Okay, this is the reality. I thought was cool, that his different realities, his different experiences interrelated. And she did, when he started crying, seeing the picture of his son, she did get rid of it, because I don't like seeing things that make you sad. Well, okay. Or is she just trying to throw things off? Again, spoilers, but like Mal in
Inception. Yep.
Inception. Thank you. I just, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I just want to jump in real quick. And for me, there are at least 2 solid, maybe 3 solid ways to watch this movie from different perspectives. One, you could straight up watch it as guy is dying. This is him in purgatory trying to fix the things but he doesn't fix anything. He's not fixing anything. He's just going through heaven and hell back and forth until he eventually ascends to heaven. 2, it could be straight up meditation on how badly screwed up PTSD Vietnam veterans came back and had to deal with things where they could not distinguish reality from the horrors that they saw, and sometimes got them juxtaposed And there are some people that said that Jacob died from something medical after he was in the hospital, and his son met him and said, okay, it's time to go. And other people said suicide. And I'm just like, well, that kind of kills the whole, depending on what religion you're in, kind of kills the whole ascending to heaven thing, because yeah, suicide's kind of a bad thing in most religions. But there's also the, straightforward, he's dead the whole time. So, I mean, there's a couple of different ways to watch this movie, and tonight. I tried watching it from the what if he really was a mentally damaged soldier and was trying to piece everything together. Because there's one thing that I picked up on this most recent viewing that I don't think I did before, and that's right at the end of the movie when he's in the cab and he pulls up to the hotel and there's a doorman and it's a nice place. And we've seen what he's lived in the entire movie. And it ain't a nice hotel with a doorman. And they let him in and they call him Dr. Singer.
Mm-hmm. And they referenced that he got his doctorate a few other times, but that he sort of strayed away from it and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like he after the death of his son, he went away. He left his wife. He's living in a crud apartment with Jezebel. So there's several ways to watch it, and it's just so difficult to wrap your brain around which one is the right way to watch it, because every time I have seen this movie at least 30 times, because it's one of those that somebody was like, well, I want to see a cool movie that's going to creep me out or make me think. And I'm like, oh, have I got the movie for you? And I've landed on this with many friends and girlfriends over the years. So it definitely is a movie that you can watch from very, very many different perspectives and try and figure out what it all means. Ultimately, I think what it all boils down to is don't have regrets. Don't let things that have bothered you from past relationships, past experiences haunt you. Fix those before the end is coming, because I really do think that the overlying theme is that his kid died, his former marriage crumbled, and everything since then has been chaos and him just falling into a feeling of everything is just not right. That's where everything crumbled. It may have started with him being in Vietnam and his kid getting killed while he was there. But the whole movie just kind of has that through line of his kid dying messed him up, messed up his life. And it doesn't seem like if he died in Vietnam, if you look at the movie, like he died in Vietnam, he was bayoneted to death. He never got to fix that on the mainland because he never came home. If he made it home, he kept thinking about his wife, because there were many, many conversations with Jezebel where she was like, you're thinking about her all the time. And he's like, well, not really. And then he has dreams where he's still with her, he's still with the kids. So it seems to me like there's just this through line throughout the movie that if there has been something horrible, try and fix it before it's too late to fix it. I mean, that's just one of my interpretations. I mean, again, there are so many different ways to look at this movie, but that's just one that I kind of popped into my brain tonight. And it's not a fully formed opinion, but it's definitely something that popped up because I saw that through line throughout the movie. Getting hit in Vietnam, death of his kid, it's all through the movie.
Yeah, that's kind of what I took away from it this time too, was that the main message of it is that to move on, like the guilt and regret and even to some degree maybe the grief of the death of his son is that almost just has to be kind of released, to get very Yoda about it, letting go of earthly attachments, letting go of things you fear to lose, kind of a little bit of the Jedi code in there. And even just then throughout the rest of it, any kind of fear of death on his part. Like if he is truly dying, if this is the process of him dying in this movie, that it seems like the times when the quote unquote demons come back to try to get him is when he is angry about suffering, angry about death, angry about but then when he starts to kind of let things go, that kind of feels like you hit those times where the angels show up or the Danny Aiello shows up, and so yeah, I think as you said, it all hinges upon the death of his son, which if he was in Vietnam when it happened and it was an accidental death anyway, there's nothing he could have done to have changed that. He couldn't have saved his son. He couldn't, do anything to bring him back. He couldn't have even prevented it. But it's the guilt that he's holding on to. Part of me was trying to watch it this time around too and think, does he have any guilt about anything he might have done in Vietnam? But I didn't get the sense of that they weren't kind of leaning in on the, maybe we'll say certain things about Vietnam in this movie, but we're not necessarily going to say anything about he feels guilt about any kind of participation in something in Vietnam. I think to your point, it is almost all hinging upon his son, or at least his son is the main focal point of the whole thing.
That's interesting because, like hearing you guys speak, our conversation has kind of flowed from the mechanics and just how brilliantly the movie was put together to the overall overarching themes, right? And which, we could talk about, like, and you guys said very eloquently, but that's something else we could talk about for hours upon hours. And as I'm hearing you, I don't want to say there's a part of it that's unimportant, but at that, hearing what you guys are saying, it's almost unimportant exactly knowing exactly what happened, as long as we can take whatever lesson they're trying to teach us away with it, right? And it's funny too, because, and I don't know if this would fit in with what they were trying to, the story they were trying to tell, but it's almost like I found myself as you were talking realizing, man, for as much as I love to think of myself as a Trekkie, where there's all these cultures and races that have non-linear time or experience in time non-linearly, I'm really rigid when it comes to this movie. And it's sort of like, yeah, so maybe he did experience all those things and end up dying on that hospital, bed in Vietnam at the very end. Maybe all those things happened, and it's just that this movie is showing time, but not like a linear time, right? He could end up back where he began, and that's where he ends up dying, even though he experienced all those other things out of order if you think of time as a line. I'm just throwing another thought out there of how this all might fit together in my head.
So to quote Deep Space Nine, it is not linear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
That's the quote.
Life lessons we can take away from Jacob's Ladder and the Cisco.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else we want to say about this one before we jump into our 3 questions for this episode? I think my takeaway from this one, once again, is I really enjoyed this movie. This movie has layers upon layers. As a horror movie, I think it's outstanding. It's one of those where, because I love a good practical effects movie, and the point I've already made a couple of times is the focusing on letting the camera work do the work and not doing a ton of stuff in post-production. I think that just lends an extra air of quality and substance to this movie, and it is genuinely creepy, I think, as a horror movie. And there's not a ton of gore in this movie. I mean, yes, you have some scenes in that hospital scene where there's some blood and there's some, dismembered limbs and things like that. But there's not a ton of gore in this movie. Where this movie gets its horror from is just the unsettling nature of the whole thing. whether it's the camera shots, whether it's the shaking heads and the different frame rates, any of that kind of stuff. And that, I think, while I love a good slasher movie every now and then, this kind of horror movie, I think, is the ones that I value more highly than just the fun popcorn slasher movie. You know, that's the Halloween candy. This is sitting down to like a 5-course meal, and just one of the best meals you've had in your whole life. And that is, I think every time I go back to rewatch this movie, that's going to be something I'm always going to come back to. Is this is a horror movie of the caliber and quality that I think should probably, at least in my opinion, should be used to judge any other horror movie that wants to take itself to the type of level this movie takes it. If you want to be the, slasher horror movie, or if you want to be Paranormal Activity 27 or whatever it is, by the time we get to Back to the Future, that's fine. But if you want to somehow transcend a lot of what you think of when you think of horror and go to kind of the next level of it, I think this is one of the movies that you use as your measuring stick to see where you're at there. But yeah, any other thoughts? Any other thoughts before we jump into the 3 questions?
No, not really. Like I said, I mean, you can look at this movie from several different perspectives, and every single one of them will be rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have.
Yeah. All right. It's time for 3 questions.
He asks each traveler 5 questions.
3 questions.
Well, were they cycles?
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Quid pro quo. I tell you things, you tell me things.
I'm not interrupting anything, am I? You look deep in thought.
So I'll ask you the questions and then we'll see, all right?
All right. Question number 1. What is your favorite Ving Rhames role?
I think guests should go first.
Agreed.
Okay, his role in People Under the Stairs. I like that a lot. I mean, of course, the obvious answer is Marcellus Wallace,
Right.
but I was like, well, everybody's going to pick that. But I love his role as Fool's, foolish mentor to let's go rob these rich racist white people of their spoils. And he's actually very, very classy and funny in that movie. So I really enjoy his role. And every time I go back and watch People Under the Stairs, I almost forget that he's in it for about 20 minutes. But I also enjoy him as Luther in the Mission Impossible movies. So
Yeah, I was going to go with Luther. You mentioned heist films. And really, half of Mission Impossible is a heist film, if not more. I mean, I'm a sucker for those. And that character is written so well as a foil for the Ethan Hunt character that it's fun. So yeah, definitely.
I'm going to daily triple you guys on that one. Luther.
Well, you've already said all the options that I might have chosen in there, so I'm going to go with the Secret Service agent Dwayne Stevenson from Dave.
There you go.
It's a very small part,
Very
but just
good.
just seeing him in there, I'm like, no, I like it.
No.
I'm good.
No small parts.
If he
No
was
small parts.
if he was my Secret Service agent, then yes, I would. If I could design a Secret Service agent, if I was going to be president, it would be Ving Rhames. Oh. All right. Question number 2. What is your favorite movie dealing with the Vietnam War or the effects of the Vietnam War?
Are we still guests go first?
We
Go
are
for it.
still guests go first,
Sure.
Rob.
Okay.
All you.
There are 2 for me, and they're tied. Full Metal Jacket sets up. I mean, there's so many people that I've heard throughout my life. They're like, well, there's Full Metal Jacket's like 2 movies, and only the first part's good. No, it's not. If you watch Full Metal Jacket, the first part of the movie is setting you up to explain to the audience why things need to be set. Rules need to be set. Order needs to be set. Everything needs to be set. And the second half of the movie is, well, when all of that goes to crap, this is what can happen. So everybody really loves the first part of Full Metal Jacket, but it's not a complete movie without showing that when you abandon everything that is supposed to be training, orders, the rule of how everything is supposed to unfold, if you abandon all of that, chaos happens and terrible things happen. So, I mean, it's a complete movie as to understanding war in a nutshell. The other one is Hamburger Hill for me. And Hamburger Hill is one of those movies that I saw where it just showed the futility of war. And there's a scene of Dermot Mulroney at the end of that movie where he's standing after they finally, after almost 2 weeks of fighting to capture this one meaningless spot, they realize they're going to have to abandon it. And he's standing at the top of it and realizing that everything that they did and everything that was lost meant absolutely nothing. And that's going to affect him for the rest of his life. So those are, I mean, Full Metal Jacket is 1A, and then Hamburger Hill is 1B for me.
On the serious side of things, I'm going to daily double both of what you just said, Rob. Hamburger Hill and Full Metal Jacket. Anybody who's listened to this show for like 2 minutes will know that my answer has probably got to be Good Morning Vietnam. Like anything Robin Williams, and just the way he approaches. I appreciate the way he approaches the subject matter in that movie, trying to blend a little bit of humor, but also I really enjoy, and I think as a kid, what really threw me off with that movie and some of his other movies, and in fact, I might even have something that slides into question number 3, is as a kid growing up, Robin Williams was he was the funny guy. He was the frantic, manic, funny guy. And then as I started to grow up and I started to see him take on more serious roles, even though it's still, Good Morning Vietnam is still him, frantic, funny, all those things. As I started to see him kind of slide or creep a little bit into more serious roles, I was like, oh, well, wait a minute. I thought he was just a funny guy. And I think his take on trying to address some of the issues within the Vietnam War, that's why I'm always, combined with the comedy, I'm always going to appreciate Good Morning Vietnam. So if I'm looking for a serious war movie, both of the ones you mentioned, Rob, I'm gravitating towards those. I think overall, I got to go with my Good Morning Vietnam.
So many excellent movies already mentioned. And boy, the first time I saw Hamburger Hill was for this podcast, which, how long ago was that? When did that movie come out?
Oh, was that
same year as this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was about that.
If not 1989, might have been 88, maybe, but I think it was roughly around the same time.
Actually, 87.
It was definitely
87.
What's that? Wow. So a year after Platoon.
Well,
wow.
And I think what's interesting is, and I seem to get it a lot with war movies, not only do they give you someone's take on war or someone's take on the after effects, and you just mentioned Platoon, right? And I'm totally drawing a blank on the guy that did that movie, and I'm feeling like a fool because his name
Oliver
was.
Stone.
Thank you. And okay, so that was Oliver Stone's take on the war, and that was all right. And then you'll see another film, and okay, well, that's a take on like the grunts view of the war, like Hamburger Hill and the futility of it. And there's actually one that just came out, and I think it's either set in or based around the Battle of Ramadi in Iraq. I think it's called Warfare, and I have not seen it. I kind of, but I've heard a lot of people speak about it and veterans speak about it and say it's one of the most accurate depictions and all that, and when they were speaking about it, they said it'll actually really, I don't know, there's no way to say it without it sounding like a cliche, bring up a lot of, you know, what some of these guys went through. And I'm very curious about that one. But not only is it about the person that made the movie's take on whatever, you know, topic it is, but I think war movies are also a sign of the times that they're made in. And I think that's a really interesting angle. And I'm not a very smart person. I'm stealing this from that Friendly Fire podcast that used to be out there. And they would always talk about the movies from those two angles. And so, you know, it's interesting because as I was looking through the list of all the different movies about the Vietnam War and realizing that, you know, when this movie came out, the end of the Vietnam War was about the same distance back from where we sit now to where the Iraq war kicked off, right? Like, I mean, and it's just, it's interesting to sit in those time, you know what I'm saying, to put that time frame on it. And because I was not, you know, I was born after the end of the Vietnam War, there's like, I don't have a continuity of understanding it. To me, it was like, wow, that happened before I was born. So that was quote unquote a long time ago. And so, you know, you talk about Platoon, and like that movie is, you know, unpacking a lot of what happened in the Vietnam War and trying to make sense of it. And it was really a sign of kind of how we thought of the military and how we processed, you know, losing the Vietnam War and what that looked like. And then when you look at a movie like, you know, Jacob's Ladder, well, I mean, there's a whole lot that this could be about, but in terms of the Vietnam War, it's talking about the use of chemical warfare, you know, and things that are being covered up and all that. Go back, and this might even seem rather asinine to bring up this example, but look at the John Wayne movie, The Green Berets. That's a very different look at the Vietnam War. Well, when was it set and what was that trying to accomplish? And so it's just interesting to me because like all these different movies, they're not only showing different angles of the war and different people trying to make sense of it or tell a story about it, but it's also a sign of the times in which that movie was made and how warfare was looked at. The one that I'm going to mention after that long little ramble that I threw in there, the one I'm going to mention is We Were Soldiers. I was and still am very taken by that movie. There's a number of scenes that, you know, it's hard it's hard for me to talk about without getting kind of, you know, caught up and kind of and bumping on it. And, you know, it's interesting because like when that movie came out, I boy, I want to say it was just right about just a little bit after September 11th. I might be way off on that, but now that movie is going to have, because of that and what our country was going through at that time, those movies are going to have a completely different take than a war movie, like if that had been made back in 1987, right? And so it's just interesting to see how the topic matter is treated. But anyways, after that long ramble and just kind of the meditation on how these different movies come about, I'd say We Were Soldiers. I think I find General Hal Moore, you know, a fascinating individual. I've read his book. The book We Were Soldiers. I thought it was a great book. I thought the characters, real life characters in that movie were incredible. And boy, I'm just forgetting the name, but that the sergeant major that was in that was played by Sam Elliott. The reading I did about him, they said that movie didn't even do it justice. How that what that guy was like in real life.
Who are you, the weatherman?
Yeah, I know. And then the way that movie showed, you know, guys that went in and at that point had signed up for this and were going off to war, and then that, you know, taking off in the helicopters for that first battle, and even the scene where they're all going because they're being deployed and they're just walking to that bus station, and the way that they visually because there's not a lot being said, but the way they use the music and the way that imagery, they incorporate the letters home and how they have to, the letters are being delivered, we regret to inform you letters.
Yeah, I'm gonna help you bring it home, Pat. That
Bring it home.
whole
I'm rambling. Go for it.
No, that's okay. No.
I am.
No,
I'm getting misty. I'm
that
getting
whole,
lost in it.
that whole sequence where the wives decide that they have to help deliver your significant other, your son, or whoever has been killed, and they decide, well, we need to go and support these people. We can't just have the postman just leaving it on their door, and it's the whole sequence of the wives gathering together to deliver the messages and support each other. I mean, that's pretty much one of the most affecting sequences of that movie outside of everything else that is going on.
Yeah. And when that postman, there's that scene when the guy's sitting there and she yells at him, like, what you did to me? And he's just like, I don't like my job. I don't like doing this. I don't know what else to do, and boy, I just thought that movie was incredibly well done. So anyways, that would be my vote, or my throw in there.
Yeah. Bo, what have you got?
So I don't think this will surprise anyone. Air America is mine. I have always loved that movie. And while it's slightly tangential to Vietnam, it's sort of more focuses on Laos in its own way. I love that movie. And so if you're asking for my favorite movie that deals with that time, I gotta say Air America. But as usual, I like to push the boundaries of John's questions just a little. While the movie is not set in Vietnam, anytime you read about its creation and the reason for telling the story was rooted in Vietnam, I feel I have to mention MASH, the movie. And while it's set in Korea, we all know the driving force behind that was very, very based coming out of the Vietnam War, and I think that's important.
The movie was not actually based in Korea. It was not named.
That's right. See,
it was not named.
This
everybody,
is the effect
everybody
the TV show,
because of the TV show was based in Korea, but it was. Yeah, they were very smart not saying exactly where they were.
That is a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it's a you're absolutely right. It is a fantastic movie, and Air America is an odd choice. That's one that I have not gone back to in quite some time. That's Robert Downey Jr. and Mel Gibson, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice because I don't think of that one as a movie where lasting impact of the Vietnam War springs to mind. But hey, okay, I'll have to check that one out.
And the other one we haven't mentioned, I don't think yet, was Apocalypse Now. I think that deserves a mention at least before we move on. For all three.
Oh, absolutely.
It's funny. It's been a while since I haven't watched that since the redo came out. So what was that?
Don't watch the redo.
Well, I had to, but never again. But
I bought the box set that had all of the versions of the movie that you could possibly watch.
Oh, nice.
There is a version that's like in between the original theatrical version and the redo that is kind of like Francis Ford Coppola realizing I probably shouldn't have done everything that I did with the redo, so it's in between, and that one's fine. The original movie is just still stunning and spectacular, and I really do feel that that's the only version that should be watched and appreciated. But that's me.
All right, and finally, question number 3: what is your favorite movie revolving around the idea of heaven and hell or angels and demons?
Wow.
I'll answer this one first because I'm going to kind of slide in a little bit from my previous Robin Williams comment. There are a lot of movies that I enjoy that deal with the idea of heaven and hell, angels and demons. One of the ones that I remember when I saw it for the first time, I just thought, this is, visually, I mean, writing, story-wise, maybe not going to win a whole lot of Oscars, but visually, I really enjoyed What Dreams May Come.
Yeah.
So there are scenes in that, because I think at the time, too, the reason why that one kind of gravitated towards me is that when I saw that, and I want to say that came out when we were in high school, and when I was in, I don't know, 8th grade, 9th grade, when I was in 8th grade, I was living in a like little kind of farming town in Southwest Missouri, so not a lot of stuff to do. So I would kind of traipse my little self down to like the park, and I'd sit there and I'd like take my pad of paper with me, and I was trying to write stories. And so one of the stories I was trying to write in my head was, how would I, if I was going to make a movie, how would I try to visualize some of the ideas of what heaven and hell could look like? And some of the stuff that I had written down, now granted, this is out of an 8th grade mind, some of the stuff that I wrote down, when I then saw that movie a few years later, I was like, oh, well, that's almost exactly what I was thinking of. So in terms of that, like the visuals of it, and the fact that it was Robin Williams in a more serious role, that movie, despite its overall quality, maybe, it has a special place in my heart. So that one definitely. But now when you talk about things of a more serious nature and movies like this, I think I have to put this movie in as my answer for the wrestling of a person going through what does it mean to traverse either from earth to heaven or hell, and what does that do to a human mind if you were having to try to explain the unexplainable? What does that do to someone? So I think one of my answers has to be this movie, has to be Jacob's Ladder, but the little soft spot corner of my heart has got to be What Dreams May Come.
This is the first time I've ever heard you say something slightly negative about What Dreams May Come.
Mm-hmm.
Because when that movie comes up, I would like to be a guest. I hope that it does not end our friendship.
Oh no. No, I know it doesn't get the highest ratings, and it having watched it many times, like I know that there's plenty of aspects about that movie that are, not the greatest, like in terms of some of the writing, the some of those pieces.
I will not spoil my opinions here because it's not the time nor place. For demons and angels movies, there are two that spring to mind, and they're very, very different movies. Have you heard of the movie Brainstorm?
Yes, haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Christopher Walken and Natalie Wood, and it basically is about trying to experience if there is an afterlife.
Okay.
And it's the last movie that Natalie Wood performed in, because we all are familiar with the tragic accident where she fell off a boat and died. Another one, unfortunately, which kind of ties into another author that we'll be talking about in a little bit, is Hellraiser, where the Cenobites literally are angels or demons, depending on what you're looking for. And I always have found that fascinating, that you could summon something and it could either literally rip you apart or send you on a different path to something that you want to be, depending on the piece of dirt human being that you might be. So I also, it was upsetting to me that I could not join you on the Prophecy, because I really do enjoy the Prophecy movies, and I love that whole storyline about there being a war, another war in heaven and hell between angels and humans and all of that. So, but for me, two movies that pop to mind is Brainstorm and Hellraiser.
Yeah, Brainstorm. I got to move that further up on the watch list.
It's not great. I'm going to tell you, it's not great, but it is a very good, interesting watch.
All right, Patrick, what have you got?
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
There you go.
All right.
I'm just gonna go simple. I like the more I go around, check out different thing and all that kind of stuff, the more I just gotta go with gotta just go with Bill and Ted. I don't know. I got nothing other than that, other than it's entertaining. I love those guys. I love Keanu. Bogus Journey was a lot of fun.
Hey, that's all you need.
Play God Gave Rock and Roll to you and like tell me I'm wrong.
There you
That's
go.
all like that's that's all I got.
That's not a bad pick, Pat. I mean,
No.
not at all.
It's good stuff. And it's just fun.
Now, apparently,
Don't they get to hell and they just annoy Satan so much
oh yeah,
that like it just and I think well I have to go back and listen, but I think what we've figured out is it wasn't like they were deliberately trying to, it wasn't something like, oh well, we're just gonna outthink Satan. It was just their
No,
overall
they were literally trying to cheat death
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
as the Ingmar Bergman film.
Yes.
They were literally
Yeah.
trying to cheat death, and they did.
they Melvined him. Oh, it's just so fun.
Now I'm really curious to know what Rob's opinion is going to be if we have him on for What Dreams May Come, because I went with like the heartwarming, like husband goes to try to save his wife in the afterlife option, and but he's okay with Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. So now I'm really curious what the opinion of What Dreams May Come is going to be. I promise you it will not end our friendship.
Send me an invite for that episode.
All right. All right.
We'll reveal all.
All right.
John hates the movie Point Break, and we're still friends. So I mean, it's all good.
I do. It's the most god awful movie I've ever seen. Like it's a complete abdication of morality, and it just. I think the reason why, if society is in the process of collapse, it's because of Point Break. I blame it all on Point Break.
Just had
Hey,
to let
not
him get
every
away
movie
with
can
it.
be cool as ice.
Pat, I'm coming to your house.
Just got serious.
Pat, I'm picking up Rob from the airport to come to your house.
That's us knocking at your door right
Yes.
now, Pat.
Hey, Pat, you know that Twilight Zone episode where the lady didn't want to let death in?
Yeah, that's right.
How would you like to experience that as more of like an escape room kind of activity?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, Bo, before we hurt each other, did you have a Heaven, Hell, Angels, or Demons movie?
Yeah, sort of similar to you. I have one that's kind of special to me that may not be the best movie, but I enjoy it a lot. Defending Your Life, Albert Brooks.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic.
I love that movie.
Isn't it so
Love
good?
it.
So that one's always been special to me. I saw it. I don't know if I just saw it at the right time or what, but that movie just has always spoken to me. And I think when we covered it on the podcast, I missed that night. And even though I tried to cover someone that I missed in the rewatch, Defending Your Life didn't make the cut, but that's always been one I've loved. And then for a more, I don't know, I guess serious something with the devil, I love me some Devil's Advocate. There's a lot of fun going on in that one.
Yeah.
Another excellent choice, man. Excellent.
You get the devil in a movie, you can have some fun, man.
Well, and especially if it's Al Pacino.
Well, it helps a little, yeah.
Yeah.
Hoo-wah.
And the fact that in that movie the devil is also an attorney, just kind of it seems to fit so nicely.
Indeed.
We got a great deposition here.
She's got a great, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, jump back to our Heat episode. Heat 2, the novel, is fantastic. I just finished it.
Did you finish it? Okay, I know you were reading it.
Yes, it's worth every page.
Excellent. Reading Rainbow, the Pat edition.
Mm-hmm.
Just take a look. It's in a book. It's Heat 2, Electric Boogaloo. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We have once again tackled Jacob's Ladder. So I don't know, give it 10 more years. We'll probably do it again for a 20th anniversary rewatch if we're all still here. but I'm sure we will. We'll be kicking around 10 more years from now. Our movies this month are mostly vampires for the month of October. So far, we have had The Prophecy. We've had Vampire in Brooklyn. We had The Addiction. There was this one, Jacob's Ladder. And then finishing out the month is Dracula, Dead and Loving It, and Species. And then for our Patreon episodes, we've got Lord of Illusions from 1995 and Tank Girl from 1995 is the Patreon short. So we have quite the spectrum of movies this month, from the goofy to the weird to the ripping off of people's flesh.
Which is always fun.
It's always a good time in October. All right. Well, as always, thank you, gents, for being here with me. And thank you, Rob, for being a guest here with us on this one.
Thank you so very much. This was a great discussion, and I think everybody should just run. If you've listened to this episode and not watched Jacob's Ladder, you're a lunatic.
Yes.
Yes, you're dead now. There's no leaving here. That's what's just happened to you. All right. Everybody, be excellent to each other. Go watch some spooky movies, and we'll see you back here next time.
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week. 30 years in the making.